And the Bucs hope that this will be their first victory ever.
We have a great area, a growing area, in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakeland, and Winter Haven, and even Wauchula. Over 2 million fans, and it's the fastest growing area in the United States.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live from Tampa Stadium. For the first time ever in a regular season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers enter the stadium with numbers in both the win and loss columns. The Buccaneers came onto the field to a wild standing ovation from the some 60,000-plus fans at Tampa Stadium. They did not introduce any players individually. The PA announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers."
Welcome to San Diego, California. Super Bowl 37. It is Tampa Bay versus the Oakland Raiders. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25. 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby! Boom, boom, boom! Yeah! Tom Brady signing with the Tampa Bay Bucs tomorrow. Holy hell. Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a tough team to stop, I think, at this point.
He said, you know what ring is my favorite one? My favorite ring is the next one. Everyone always says, why the Bucs, man? Why'd you choose the Bucs? And it was a no-brainer.
Brady has all kinds of time. Throws toward the end zone. It is a caught ball. Touchdown, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Brady to throw. Throws a deep pass downfield. Got Scotty Miller in the open. Makes the catch. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Here's the snap out of the gun. Play action fake pass to Gronkowski. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Holy guacamole. And the Buccaneer Nation will celebrate. And I want to hear cannons.
We do.
I want to hear cannons.
For sure.
And I think we are going to hear cannons. If I got to do the boom, boom, boom myself. Bucs win. Bucs win the Super Bowl 55. Tom Brady engineers the offense. The Buccaneers score late in the first half, early in the second half. And there the cannons come. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them. How about the Buccaneers, huh?
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast, live on YouTube today for episode 204. The Buccaneers win their 10th game in a row, absolutely destroying Atlanta 48-25. Now that final score not totally indicative of the entire game. We'll talk about that here shortly. But an action-packed show planned for you guys. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. And we are not alone, folks. We have been teasing a special guest for what feels like 6 months now. We finally were able to make it work with the schedules from his very own podcast, The Buckin' Idiots, and I think he does another podcast, the Loose Cannons podcast. The one and only Stank Bastard joins the show after a Buccaneers victory. How we feeling, boys? One hell of a game, right?
I'm worn out. I was at the game. It was hot as shit. And, we're kind of talking before the show. It was that kind of typical Bucs game where, they got to get your heart rate up a little bit, right? They pissed me off. I'm not gonna hold back, bro. It pissed me off. Yeah. It didn't seem like the pass rush was getting to Matt. They moved the ball up and down the field on us quite a bit. And thank God for Mike Edwards, right? Thank God the defense woke the fuck up at the end of the game and sealed the victory.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. There's always a point. I think Stank hit it right on the head. There's always a point where it kind of feels in doubt. This felt, they jumped out to an early lead and it was almost like too easy. And you were like, well, is this gonna go this easy the whole game, especially on the offensive side of the ball? As the offense, I mean, they were seemed like completely unstoppable. And then the defense offense gets cold a little bit, and then the defense can't stop a thing. So, it's definitely, there's times where you're like, how is this going to work? And I think Brady had, played great, but there were some drives where he did miss some guys. There might have been a wet ball, but I think overall they did what they had to do. And like you said, thank God for Mike Edwards.
Well, like both of you guys alluded to, it was an absolutely blistering start for the offense. They had 100 yards of total offense in like 5 minutes. And then the unnecessary roughness flag on Ryan Jensen was tossed, and everything seemed to stall out after that point. That's when the Falcons were able to kind of get back into the game. Defense was stalling out every now and again. The offense kind of hit a lull halfway through the game. I will say, Tom Brady balled the fuck out. We have to talk about that first and foremost. We'll go through some of these stat lines here, and then I want to get your thoughts more in depth on the game. So TB12, his stat line today, 24 for 36, 276 yards, 5 total touchdowns. He did have the fumble that he lost. Unfortunate, but I mean, dude, 5 touchdowns. 9 touchdowns over the first 2 games for TB12. I know it's only week 2, and everybody hates the on pace for guy. Tom Brady's on pace for 70-something goddamn touchdowns. But is Tom Brady playing at an MVP level right now? Like, he is locked the hell in, and he looks unstoppable these last 2 weeks.
He is. He's definitely playing at an MVP level, and he's done it before. He's never had this type of weaponry. And I still feel like this offense is leaving shit out on the field. I mean, That's the crazy part. He threw for 5 touchdowns, almost 300 yards, and I still get frustrated. We had a lot of opportunities lost by, I don't know, protection wasn't really that good today. There were times where it broke down. I didn't think Atlanta had any horses up front, but they seemed to give us a little bit of trouble. And I still think this offense is finding its way. Play calling was a little weird at times. Rojo with his missing pass blocks, and run game just never feels right. Always feels kind of out of sync, and it's almost like we succeed running the ball despite, it's just more like effort plays versus scheming it or design. But somehow we seem to get it done. We just have that much talent that we just out talent people. But I don't know the execution was the cleanest. I think Arians and Brady would be the first to say that this is kind of a sloppy game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, like you said, it comes down to the running game. I don't ever expect the Bucs running game to do anything. I just always think that they're just gonna have to pass the ball. I mean, obviously you can't pass it every single play, but it's just, it's getting to the point where every time Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones touch the ball, whether it's a pass or a run, I get nervous because today Leonard Fournette fumbled the football. It was on a pass and he fumbled the football. It's just they can't seem to get out of their own way. And I'm convinced that the Bucs they have no good running backs. They all have deficiencies in some way, because it doesn't seem like any one of them just can do anything right. Ronald Jones, he caught the ball that was thrown to him today, but then he missed a key block that led to a sack. He just completely whiffed on it. The one ball that he caught and didn't go for the first down, he sort of stopped ahead of the first down for some odd reason. Just the small things, and I just don't think, and nobody's putting themselves ahead of the pack. Nobody is standing out enough, and I think until they do, it's going to be the same running back by committee type deal. I honestly do.
I knew we kind of came into this game expecting the rotation, right? Rojo was your starter. I thought the run game looked okay early. A lot of 6, 7, 8-yard games that seemed to set up short distance or even just a first down every now and again. Things did kind of stall out when the rest of the offense slowed down. But the real question to me is, where the hell is Gio Bernard? I know that Bruce talked about, he's established a role on this team as the third down back in certain situations, but like, why not put him out there in more passing situations? Why are we throwing screens to Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones when half the time Rojo can't catch it or, Brady throws it at his feet? I know a couple of big plays were made today off of Lenny catching the ball out of the backfield, but just as many weren't made. And there were, so many times where you ask yourself, where's Gio Bernard? And then they bring him out, the last play of the game, the last drive. It's third and endlessly deep for the Bucs. He picks up 9-10 yards, probably would have been a first down if we had seen him in the game a little bit earlier. Like, where is that situation going to end up where we see Gio Bernard in a spot where everybody's happy to see him out there? Like, it's, you either get a play from your guy catching the ball out of the backfield, or everybody's just angry on Twitter talking about where is Gio Bernard, because we just simply haven't seen him enough.
I thought you saw him a little bit more today. A little bit.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more. But you're right. I mean, you are. It did seem like he made a little bit more of an impact. I actually saw him on third down. That wasn't like it was an early third down. I forget what the yardage was, but I saw him that he was on a third down. I was like, okay, that's good. Like, you're actually using the third down back for like actually what he's supposed to do. Yeah, I mean, I think people want to see him, but at the same time, you have to realize kind of what he is. Because obviously he has limitations too, right? If he was this all-star running back that had no weakness or had no limitations, the Bengals would have never cut him. They wouldn't have gotten rid of him. So I think you got to realize that Gio Bernard has a role. Now, whether you think he should be in that role more, that's up for debate. Sure. I think he should personally be on every third down, no matter the yardage, basically, unless you're on like goal line. But I just think that he has a role, and it's a very specific one. But the frustration is that you're just not seeing him what I guess Bucs fans envisioned. I think they envisioned a James White version of the Bucs James White version, and right now they're not getting that.
Yeah, it's a little confusing to me. I mean, maybe he just doesn't know the offense well enough yet. Tom Brady notoriously struggled with picking up the offense, and so last season. So maybe it's just as the season progresses, he'll take bigger roles. But we've I think as a fan base and even in the media and John Ledger specifically, it's very clear neither Rojo or Lenny are great pass catching backs. I think Lenny's probably better than Rojo. That was a nice play by the linebacker who punched that ball out, and thank God Chris Godwin was heady enough to get back and swat that ball out of bounds, because that was a pivotal point in the game that really could have swung the momentum back in Atlanta's favor. Being at the game, you obviously don't get to see it as clear as you guys probably did on TV. You miss a whole lot, but yeah, even though we won, and Jake Arians always gives me shit because I tend to still be frustrated after wins, and he's like, "Fuck that," we won. Doesn't matter what happens, but to me it does. I still am critical of the performance, and really the most disappointing thing for me was the pass rush. I felt like we couldn't get home, which is weird because the Eagles just drummed them last week, and I guess they made some changes and got one of the guys back. But I fully expected to see Matt Ryan on the ground a ton, and surprised they had a lot of success and he was able to evade the pass rush, and it was frustrating.
Yeah, no, man, I'm with you. Coming into this game on our preview show, I even said I said the same thing before the Dallas game, just because they had that injury. They were missing a right guard, but Dallas still has a great offensive line. Carter McGovern stepped in. He played great. Atlanta is not the same story. I mean, they had one of the lowest graded O-lines last week against a Philly team that, when you compare the front seven of Tampa Bay and Philly, obviously you're going to pick the Bucs 9 times out of 10. So I was a little disappointed to not see as much pressure. There were times where he was uncomfortable, but it just didn't seem like they were really getting there. And I was banging my chest this week saying there's no reason we shouldn't have multiple sacks, but that was not the case. Now, before we talk about, some more critiques, I guess, let's talk about some more big stat lines here. Stank, I think you and I picked a really good day to throw on the 13 jersey. Mike Evans, people have been wondering where he's at. He showed up today. 5 receptions, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Big Mike. And I think he handed out 2 game balls, too. It was pretty cool. He was hunting down the Mike Evans jerseys and making sure they got to those guys. But, I mean, for, anybody who was worried about Mike coming into this game, I think everybody said it this week. Don't worry. He's going to get his, and today was just, a sample of that. He's going to have plenty more games like this throughout the year.
Yeah, and who you didn't see a ton of? Antonio Brown. Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. Right? This is going to happen. There's going to be some weeks where it feels like there's probably going to be another game this season where Mike Evans kind of is neglected a little bit. And not necessarily neglected, I shouldn't say, but doesn't get as many targets as some fans would like to see. Chris Godwin caught a big touchdown, caught a few balls over the seam, but I mean, mostly it was a lot of Mike Evans, still a lot of Gronkowski with the 2 touchdowns. We'll talk about him in a minute. But it was a lot of those guys. You didn't really see Antonio Brown, right? So that's going to happen when you have so many targets, and that's what we talked about. And it's really nice for everybody to quiet down about Mike Evans this week at least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one thing's for certain. Tom Brady listens. He heard all the talk. I'm sure Mike heard all the talk, and they came out early and got Mike the ball. Tom missed them on a deep pass. Tom missed AB twice on some deep balls. The deep passing game wasn't there today, but his connection with Gronk is automatic. And yeah, Tom had a great game, but still left a lot out on the field. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's crazy to say, but we could have had even more success.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you are in the wrong for being, I guess, overly critiquing this game, because that's what you have to do. I mean, you look at the opponent that's coming up, right? The LA Rams, one of the best teams in the NFL here in the first quarter of the season so far. I think Matt Stafford's really going to be a problem for this team. So when you look at missed opportunities on both sides of the ball, not only is it an opportunity for this team to get better than they already were today, it's just like you said, it's frustrating because it's points left on the field, and it's what's going to separate this team from the rest of the pack, the rest of the playoff projected teams and the teams that are doing well. For the Bucs right now, coming into this season as the defending Super Bowl champions, I think you have a little bit of a reputation to uphold as the best team in the NFL. And we saw a lot of glimpses today of what looked like the best team in the NFL, especially with the defense closing it out the way that they did. But being able to do that for a full 4 quarters is going to count a lot more when you're doing it against Matt Stafford and the Rams, or a lot of the other high-profile matchups they're going to have later on in the year. So, I mean, I don't think you're, nobody should bitch if you're overly complaining about this game or just finding reasons to, pick at this game, or they could be better here, they could be better there. I think some people don't do it enough. So, like, we always try to do that here on the show, and it's a good lens to have, I think, because it gets realistic sometimes. Every week you want to pick the Bucs to win by 50, and then all of a sudden they're down, or I'm sorry, they're, in a 3-point game against Atlanta. That shouldn't happen. Shouldn't have happened today. But Evan, your take.
Yeah, Tom Brady didn't even play perfect, and he still had 5 touchdowns and seemingly did almost whatever he wanted. Like it seemed like when he, when they needed the touchdown, when it was 28-25, and like they needed the touchdown, they got the touchdown, and it was just right what the doctor ordered. And I mean, he's so good. Like it is. I know we talk about it, and we talk about it, ad nauseum, really. And like a lot of people say, "Oh, you guys just, big Brady, lovers or whatever." Look, the dude's awesome. Like it's just, this is what he does, right? I mean, he comes in and he just shreds defenses. It's honestly unbelievable. He's almost, it's my expectations for him have almost been blown out of the water, and like if you take away 2 BS interceptions last week, and he almost has 9 touchdowns and no picks. I mean, it's honestly it's incredible what he's been able to do, and just like I said, wasn't even a perfect game. Like Stank said, he missed Mike Evans. It was open for a touchdown basically on that deep ball across the middle of the field. Missed Mike Evans, missed Antonio Brown a few times. missed Gronk down the seam a few times. The middle of the field was really open. The Falcons struggled to guard the middle of the field against this team. They were hitting seam shots, whether it was Gronk or Chris Godwin or Mike Evans all day long. But Brady missed some, but he still basically went out there and did what Tom Brady does. And it's honestly scary, I think. What does a perfect Brady game look like then? Right? Because I thought Brady was fantastic versus Dallas. I thought he was good in this game. Like, what does a perfect Tom Brady game look like? And what would that mean for this offense? It's like, just like Stank said, they put up, obviously 14 points, or 13 points with the pick sixes. But, at the same time, this offense could have done so much more, right? They had the fumble. They were in field goal range when the fumble happened. It's just Brady just didn't feel it. Normally he does. I'm not, whatever. It happens. And they have the potential to just do so much more. And that's the crazy thing. I think that's the crazy thing, is that this offense yet again still has some spots where they shoot themselves in the foot, and they haven't put it all together yet. I think if and / when they do, it's going to be nearly impossible to stop.
Yeah, for me, it's like more, I want to see some complementary football. I want to see the defense play out of its mind, the offense play out of its mind, and not have to sweat victories. I think this team's good enough to play that type of football. Yeah. You can point at New England, and when Tom was there and they were good, they destroyed teams. It wasn't a question, bro. You know what I mean? Like, played good defense, they played good offense, they controlled the game, and that's what great teams do on a consistent basis. We won the Super Bowl last year. We are obviously capable of greatness. And so it's a new season, so there are going to be some struggles, different team. And, it's going to take this team some time, I think, to get their feet under them again, especially defensively. They don't look the same. They don't look the same up front. Mm-hmm. A little banged up, and I couldn't tell, again, being at the game. It's a little harder to kind of see how things unfold. So I'm kind of anxious to go back and watch it again and, see some of the nuances that you missed while you're actually at the game.
Yeah. Coming into this game, and coming into the start of the season, we had said that you can't really expect this defense to play at the caliber that they were in the Super Bowl, right? That's 20 weeks of straight football.
Not starting off. Yeah.
You're playing at your peak. Obviously, it's going to take you a little bit to get back there. 2-0 is a great start, but I'll tell you who really doesn't seem to be having that tough of a time getting started this season is that blocking tight end, baby, Rob Gronkowski. 4 receptions, 39 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns for Gronk over the first 2 games. How about Rob Gronkowski in this offense, man? If he is able to stay healthy with the shape that we know he is in, he is going to be a major problem for defenses down the stretch.
I got some bad news, though. There was a target that went Rob Gronkowski's way that was incomplete, and it was on the final when it was like 4 minutes left in the game, and they threw the screen pass, and Brady just kind of threw it to the ground. Yeah. But before then, every throw to Gronkowski, every time Gronkowski was targeted in the Dallas game and in this one, the ball was caught. So that is efficient, and he is just playing. I texted you, Rhett, after the second touchdown. I was like, this might be 2015 Gronk. I was like, this might just be like insane production, red zone. Like, you just can't stop him. Is right now what he's doing is ridiculous. And it's not the same exact stuff they did in New England. You haven't seen this down the seam stuff, the Brady ball that he kind of pops over the linebacker's head, and Gronkowski's running down the middle of the field. You haven't seen that yet this season, but what you're seeing out of them is just production and efficiency, and that's something you didn't see from Gronk in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season last year. So definitely a great sign, and it looks like he's finally in football shape. He was productive last year, but this year it seems like he's taking it to another level.
Yeah, it's weird. We haven't heard Cameron Brate's name very much, if at all.
OJ Howard got a catch today.
Yeah, OJ and Cam, I think, both got 1 catch today.
Juicy made an appearance today. Obviously, he's still on the mend. But it's, are you going to take Gronk off the field? To force targets to other tight ends unless they go in, more 12 personnel and run multiple tight end packages and things like that, which I don't know we haven't seen a whole lot of that yet this season, but this team can be so multiple. They can do so many things and be so different when they need to be, other than run the ball consistently. And I'd love to see them be able to pound the ball when teams know they're going to run, and be able to run successful in running situations. But again, maybe we mature into a better running offense as the season progresses.
Yeah. I think this will kind of tie the conversation together between the offense and the defense, because we saw it occur on both sides of the ball tonight. These damn flags, dude. We had a conversation last week on the show about how, things were kind of sloppy against Dallas. It's week 1 football, so you can kind of expect it, right? It's going to take these guys a little bit, but I had a lot more faith that they were going to come in here and clean this shit up this week, and they did not, man. Like we said before, there were a couple of times where the Bucs were just shooting themselves in the foot. Now, there's one drive that I want to look at in particular, and I don't even so much blame this drive on the Bucs, more so I do just terrible officiating, but it was right before halftime.
Yeah.
And Bucs were trying to make their way down the Falcons were trying to make their way down the field. Bucs had just scored a touchdown, and that timeout, by the way, in the red zone was a little questionable. They had 45 seconds left on the clock, running clock.
Weird.
They decide to burn a timeout. It's all right. They still end up getting the points, but you leave Atlanta that much time on the clock. And what ensued was just disgusting. It was an offsides call on Jason Pierre-Paul, which I think was the only actual penalty. Well, Shaq Barrett first. JPP offsides call, I think, was the only genuine penalty on that drive. Yeah. But it started with an offsides on Shaq Barrett, who we know that's kind of what Shaq does. He likes to time the snap. And, I mean, he got it as perfect gets. And these assholes on the field apparently did not see that. So they call it offsides on Shaq Barrett. Then you get a personal foul on Carlton Davis, and it allows the Falcons to get into field goal range. Their kicker nails it from 36 yards. They go into halftime 21-10. I mean, I don't know how to feel about this drive. I mean, angry is definitely one way to feel about it. Like I said, I'm not so much blaming it on execution, but there were definitely some avoidable flags out there on both sides of the ball, and I just really hope this doesn't become a trend this year.
Well, I think, the Shaq Barrett thing, that's not offsides. I mean, they slowed it down. Obviously, Stank, you're in the stadium. I'm not sure if they slowed it down for you guys in the stadium. Well, on the broadcast, they slowed it down, and the slower it got, the more you could tell that it was not offsides.
I was actually getting a Cuban sandwich during that particular play inside, and so I got to see that one on TV. And it was a beautifully timed get off, a la Gerald McCoy. It was just great. He timed that shit perfectly, it wiped a defensive touchdown off the board, unfortunately, and then it just kind of seemed to snowball in the Falcons' direction.
The Carlton Davis one,
which was also kind of questionable. I mean, the helmets made contact, but he led with his forearms. It wasn't a whole lot of contact, but whatever. You're going to get that call from half the time in the NFL just because the helmets happen to touch each other.
This isn't a very important question, but I'm just kind of curious. Was it a good Cuban sandwich? Because I know you probably paid over $20 for it.
Listen, nothing in that fucking building is cheap. I got, I'll tell you, today I got 3 beers and a Cuban. I probably spent $70.
Jesus Christ. Did you also hear that they upsell the prices of beer in the nosebleeds? They charge $4 or $5 more for beer. I went to a preseason game, and we may or may not have moved around the stadium. I don't know anything about that, but we started in the nosebleeds, and it was $16 for a can up there. And we got down to buy the pirate ship, and they're walking around. I think it's $11 or $12 a beer. What the hell, bro?
Wow, you're taking advantage of
poor people.
Of poor people,
right?
Incredible.
Right. Well, back on track talking about this defense. That was a terrible drive before halftime, but coming out to start the second half, playmakers make plays, baby. Vita Vea makes the play. He gets a hand on the football, tips it up, and Shaq Barrett gets himself an interception, sets up a touchdown for Tampa Bay. We talk about how the defense unraveled a little bit in the second half, and I think they definitely kept Atlanta in this game longer than they should have been. But at the end of the day, let's talk about Mike Edwards' 2 straight pick sixes. They stepped up right when we needed them to. So, I mean, how mad can you be, right? Obviously, some execution during the game can be talked about, and I'm sure it'll be addressed. But this is still a defense that makes plays when you need it the most. And I think that's an identity that they've started to develop over the course of last year and, of course, these first 2 games.
Well, real quick, they intercepted Matt Ryan the last time was Carlton Davis in 2019, right?
Yep.
Raise your hand if you had the next guy being Shaq Barrett to intercept Matt Ryan. Anybody? No.
My money would have been on JPP.
Yeah. He was almost the team leader last year. So yeah, it was a great response coming out of the half. But however, what followed that was just more frustration. And I'm kind of with Stank to where I was literally texting you, Rhett. I was like, this Falcons offensive line is terrible, and they couldn't get home. Like it didn't seem like they didn't blitz nearly as much as they blitzed against Dallas. It seems like they were playing a lot more coverage that in this game than they did against Dallas. Maybe because their blitzes weren't as effective against Dallas. I'm not sure, but it didn't seem like they could get home. It really didn't. And every time they did, Matt Ryan would either get the ball out the last second or, I remember Devin White coming in on a blitz and just completely whiffing. Ryan just sidestepping him, couldn't get home. And now that was a concern for me. So a lot of people are going to talk about the secondary. I know that the Bucs have, contacted Richard Sherman. Like, I get it. I know people want to talk about that, whatever. But to me, coming out of this game, as far as concerning on the defensive side, the lack of pass rush against this horrid offensive line was definitely more concerning to me. And it's not like Matt Ryan's a mobile quarterback. It's not like he's going to be able to save some sacks for his offensive line. He's not going anywhere. And they still couldn't really touch him.
Really quickly, I can't ignore it now. We got 2 super chats from Mr. Bucks Nation, a.k.a. James Hill. He said, read my super chats. Rhett, you bastard. Love James. Thanks for the $4 going into the Wendy's fund. Stank, go ahead.
I'm used to being bullied like that, and I,
Dude, they're trying to kick you off the show. What the hell is that all about?
Listen, they can't kick me off the show. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, Sammer can try to bully me and kick me off. I'm a 33.3% owner of that show. And so I'm not going anywhere, no matter how much he abuses me. And he abuses me often. He really does. Live on camera, off camera. But I get him back.
You heard it here first. Stank is not going anywhere.
No, exactly. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, man. Let's talk about sorry, I'm reading the chat here. I got a little caught up. Let's talk about what we were talking about before with this defense. Things started to unravel. I think it was a little bit of frustration in the second half, but they stepped up when they needed to. James,
one thing I will say, that Cordell Patterson play when he scored the touchdown with the one hand, that was pretty sick.
Christ, dude.
Sometimes you just got to give credit where credit's due. James says Stank is the Wolf of Wall Street guy, so he's not leaving.
Yeah.
So.
I've never snorted a line of cocaine out of a stripper's asshole. I don't know if she's a stripper or not, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that on this show. I hope is this PG?
No, you can say whatever the hell you want.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah, but I'm not going anywhere.
All right. So it's just I don't know. They designed some things that they did well, and like credit to the Falcons, but like. I don't know, like they didn't do anything that like you didn't expect them to do. It's just to me, it was just a very basic Falcons game plan, and it seemed like the Bucs were ready for it. It's just they weren't executing. And I know it seemed like Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean must have gone on and off, 3 or 4 times during the game. Like it seemed like I wasn't sure if they were going to return, and it happened like a bunch. So I'm just, I was like, I texted you, Rhett. I said, man, are they going to have to sign Sherman just out of sheer necessity? Like, they're just going to have to do it. Both players, I believe, were able to finish the game. I don't think either one of them were able to had to come out for an extended period of time. But just a frustrating day on defense. But then obviously it helps when the final 2 drives really when it mattered. Before Josh Rosen came in, Mike Edwards just deciding, okay, it's my time. And
he's the ball hawk, bro. That guy has a nose for the football. It seems like when he's on the field, the ball finds him. He has the worst hair on the team, but the best ball skills.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, man. Let's talk about Sherman really quickly, just because I think people are going to want it to be addressed. We totally shit on the idea on our last podcast. We literally addressed all the people
Particularly
who were
me.
talking.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally called people out and we're like, listen, the Bucs are not signing Richard Sherman. They are not interested in signing Richard Sherman unless he's able to work around some money stuff, right? It just doesn't seem like a very viable option. With the Bucs already down SMB for an extended period of time, coming out of today's game healthy was huge. Because like you said, Carlton, Jamel Dean, both those guys went down, came out of the game multiple times. Everybody and their goddamn mom got hurt today. I don't know if you were reading Twitter all day, but Adam Schefter.
I was very, very nervous.
Dude, Adam Schefter every 5 minutes is tweeting about a quarterback who's gone down and had to go to the locker room for an extended period of time. Baker Mayfield, too, is probably out for an extended period of time. Andy Dalton had to leave his game. There were just Derek Carr was down for a little while. Carson Wentz.
Carson went to everybody.
I mean, Jesus, dude. But the conversation about Richard Sherman, I guess we have to have it. Does it change a little bit? I mean, like I said, we crapped on the idea earlier this week, but it was confirmed today that the Buccaneers are one of the teams that are kind of interested, have at least reached out to him. And by reached out, the report said a key member of the Buccaneers organization reached out to him. So I'm sure you can draw your own conclusions on who that might be. But I mean, Stank, what are your thoughts on Sherman? Is it a viable option? Are there other guys you think the Bucs could be interested in? Like, is a vet corner the way to go after today's game?
I think it depends on how quickly SMB heals up. And really right now, they seem to be kind of gray on that. I guess he didn't have any ligament damage. And from what I've heard, SMB expects to be back, sooner rather than later. But you just never know with those types of injuries. They're kicking the tires on Richard. I don't know if there's mutual interests, because there could be. I'm sure Jason keeps in contact with a lot of guys, and you have to put contingency plans in place because they're one more injury away from being super thin in that position. So you better prepare. Whether they add him or not, I think we come out of this game relatively healthy. From I was at the game. That was a hot fucking game. It may not have been one of the hotter games, but it was to me, it was a sauna out there.
Listen,
no wind, no breeze.
I'm not trying to pick on you, but weren't you in like the luxury Super Bowl section or whatever the hell new section they have where you've got, AC cooled seats and you can run up in the fucking air conditioning and get a $25 Cuban sandwich?
I did that.
Making fun of Jameis Winston on the TV.
I actually did all those things today. I ran away. Listen, I used to sit in 300 triple D. The free tickets, because I used to work for like one of the sponsors at the time. Dodge was a sponsor, but my back was up against the wall in the 300 section next to the flag guys and shit like that. I did that for 10 plus years. I actually like those seats better. I'm not even gonna lie. I like the ability to go in and get air conditioning and piss in bathrooms that aren't disgusting. But outside of that, it's nothing fancy, man. Yeah. Same people. The weird people. There's some weird people that watch the entire game inside. Why even leave your house?
You're spending hundreds of dollars on tickets just to stand there and watch the game inside like you could watch it at home, right?
Yeah. I've sat everywhere in that stadium. Down low, up high. This year we happened to sit in the club. It's not really my thing, but whatever.
I think the best viewing experience I've ever had in Ray J, just my personal favorite, it was on the side of the pirate ship, and I can't remember which corner of the end zone it was, but it was Monday Night Football against Pittsburgh in 2018. And we were down there to see Deshaun Jackson get that punt return touchdown that ended up being called back and lost us the goddamn game. I remember that very vividly because the view was great. Like, for me, I like being able to see the whole field. Like, sitting in the end zone is cool. I sat in the end zone across from the pirate ship for the preseason games, and it's cool when the play is right there. Right. But if it's happening way in the other end zone, you just really can't see anything unless you're
watching the screen.
Right.
Exactly.
So being in the mid-level section in the corner of the end zone where you've got a good diagonal view of the field, you can see both sides perfectly. That's my favorite spot.
Yeah, so real quick on the Sherman thing, because I was one of the guys who basically said no.
It's not the first time we've ever crapped on a player coming here, right?
It's
Antonio Brown
every
year.
time.
It's a yearly tradition.
This year's player is Richard Sherman, I guess. Yeah, I just think this is just them sort of, just like Stank said, you always have to be ready. You never know what's going to happen. Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis both left today's games at points. Carlton Davis was even questionable to play in today's game. You never know. You don't want to end up with your number one corner being Jamel Dean and your number two corner being Ross Cockrell and having to play D. Delaney or Herb Miller or Pierre Desir in the slot. Because you're going to be a nickel probably most of the time in today's NFL. So that's why I think they did reach out and see, how does he feel about it? What money is he looking for? How's he feeling? How's his body feeling? How's the workouts been going? Does he feel like he can contribute? Is he ready to play? And then obviously there's some off-field issues there. Which I'm sure the Bucs and probably, 31 other teams have probably all looked into. I'm sure even if they say, well, we're probably not going to sign him, but let's just look into it. You never know. So I wouldn't personally count on it. I do agree with you, Stank, that I think it depends on when Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to be back. If it's 7-8 weeks from now, I think signing a guy like Sherman makes sense and it makes it more likely. But if he's going to be back in 3 weeks or so, see if you can survive. It's a risk, but see if you can survive with what you got.
Well, even if you sign him now, that guy wasn't in anybody's training camp. He's not. He's not getting on the field next week and playing against the Rams. You know what I mean? Like that. You sign him now, he may see the field 3-4 weeks from now, if that's possible. But he's going to take up a roster spot too. So again, I think it was more of a precautionary thing. I'll be surprised to see him actually get signed by us, but who fucking knows? Maybe.
Yeah, you never. We've always I never discount him with anything, and it seems like now that I did. Because we a lot of like the JJ Watt stuff in the offseason. A lot of people were like, and I was like, well, you never know. I was like, because we said Rob Gronkowski was never coming.
Sammer's head would have fucking fallen off if we signed JJ Watt, bro. He hates that guy.
Oh, the corniest guy in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm working out, guys.
Look at me, guys. Ice water.
I'm not really sure. Mr. Bucks Nation, I saw his message was retracted. That's cowardice, James.
Wow, he was talking some shit and he decided to take it back.
I guess
he's feeling bold tonight. He doesn't usually toss around cuss words like he has been.
Yeah, I don't know what his problem is. I'm going to set him straight. So yeah, he basically said he wonders if they called Sherman and offered him a practice squad spot, and he said no. I don't know that. I don't even know if anything was offered. It's probably just a checking in. Hey, how you doing? Hey, if you want to make a decision on a team, keep us in mind. Where give us a call if you're interested in this. Are you interested? What do you think of Coach Bowles? What do you think of so and so? What do you think of so and so? It would be interesting to see him on a team with Tom Brady. It would be pretty interesting to see them two guys suddenly share the same locker room. So we'll see. Like we said, wouldn't expect it, but crazier things have happened. So
yeah.
Listen, real quick, I gotta interrupt you because
you're good.
I was thinking about you and Evan and James the other day because I took my wife to the Oldsmar flea market.
Oh hell yeah, man!
There we go.
Yeah, I'm a flea market guy, right? I have been since I was a kid. My mom used to have sell tie dyes and shit there when I was a kid. So, but yeah, I saw some of the cool shit you guys had on your episodes out there. Some of the memorabilia stuff in the off season.
Hell yeah, man!
Some of that stuff still out there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely.
I like it. I mean, my Oldsmar is one of my favorite stops just because it seems like one, it's kind of one of the only flea markets we have left these days.
It's the only one left, or we have one of the only ones left.
Right, but it seems like there's usually continually new people starting to rent out there. I mean, the guys that have been there 15, 20 years with the jerseys, that's all cool and great. I like it because you've got one guy on one side of the flea market who's got like all the genuine jerseys. They're a little bit older, but it's, just endless racks of vague Bucks. He's got a bunch of signed mini helmets in the back, Reeboks, Adidas, like old shit, right? There's probably a couple Puma jerseys in there hanging up. And then you've got right on the other side, you can get any custom you want. And some of the creamsicles look pretty good, but you just got to settle with, the bootleg stuff. I mean, I think he's got some real stuff hanging up outside, but there's just a nice selection for everybody. But for anybody out there who's on the hunt for like retro Bucks jerseys, I know James is is a little fond of like just random ass players. Like I know he was hunting down
random
Sabby Piscatelli jersey not that long ago just to try and add to his collection. He had a couple of really good ones on Etsy that he had picked out. I actually almost bought an Eric Rhett jersey this week, and then somebody bought it out from under me on Facebook Marketplace.
Funny story. Very first Bucs jersey I ever owned was an Eric Rhett Bucs jersey.
I've been wanting to get one, bro. Like it.
Well, I didn't even know. I didn't know that it was that. I thought it was always Eric Rhett, and apparently it is not. So yeah, I found that out about 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Eric. I learned at a very young age. I got my Eric Rhett football card. I don't even remember where I got it, but it was like it was the 1 year that he wore the red and pewter, so I always thought it was kind of a cool card. You know what I mean? Let's look at the Buccaneers' next few matchups here. I want to talk about expectations for this team going forward, and then we'll wrap up with the take bag, just like we do every single week. We're not going to get too in-depth. Obviously, we have game previews for this over the next 3 weeks, but you got the Rams next week, America's game of the week. That's a 4:25 kickoff. And then after that, you have got the Patriots and the Dolphins. Patriots won their game today, I think, and the Dolphins got shut out by Buffalo 35-0 after losing Tua. That matchup we don't have to spend too much time on, but I want to talk about your guys' expectations with this team heading into LA next week. I know we talked about at the beginning of the episode, the Rams, they're really the first big challenge, I think, that's on the schedule this year. Dallas was a great game that came down to the wire. W is a W. It was week 1 football. That's what we can chop it up to. Atlanta shouldn't have been as close as it was. It was close, but champions make plays to win the game, and that's what the Bucs were able to do down the stretch. LA is going to be tough, man. Matt Stafford is fucking vibing with his new offense, and I really think this is going to be a close game.
Him and Cooper Kupp have been like Brady and Gronkowski right now. I mean, it's been ridiculous. That type of defense really gives Brady a lot of trouble. So I'm curious to see their game plan, because if you remember the first half of the game last year in Tampa, the Bucs game plan worked, and it stopped working when the Bucs played into the Rams defense's hands, which with the Rams defense, their main objective is to take away the big play. Right? They're going to give you some underneath stuff, but they don't want you to really beat them over the top. And that's exactly what the Bucs tried to force, and it didn't work. So we'll see if they learn their lesson. But, I'm more worried about the defensive side of the ball against this Rams offense. It's lethal. So I think you could see a pretty high score. And if you're a betting man, I would maybe take the over in this game.
I think we haven't been able to stop anybody yet this season. So
yeah. I was just going to say really quick, Stank. I think everybody that took the over today was shitting their pants until the very end of the game, it felt like. I know Atlanta kind of came. What was the over-under today? Like 50.5, 51 points,
I think it was 50, 51.5, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it took them a little bit to get there. They eventually did. But, Stank, your take. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I'm actually we actually are traveling out to LA.
Yes, sir.
I fly out Thursday with the Loose Cannons travel crew. This will be our first travel crew event, and I can't wait. I've never been to LA. It's going to be a blast. But as far as the game is concerned, I'm a little concerned. Based on what we've seen these first 2 weeks, I'm not concerned about Brady in this offense. I think they'll be able to kind of move the ball at times against LA. I'm worried about stopping them. They look like they're hitting on all cylinders. But this fucking league is weird. It just is, man. You never know week to week what you're going to see out there. And if, as Bruce loves to say, if the Bucs don't beat the Bucs, we can stop beating ourselves. We're the champs for a reason. So can we beat the Rams? Absolutely. Are the Buckaholics and the Buck fans going to represent in that stadium? Hell yeah, they are. It's going to be a fun event, and I hope we hit Stafford early and often, and make his life a living hell. And we're hitting on all cylinders, man.
Oh yeah, I think it's something Stafford should be used to, right? All those terrible years behind that O-line in Detroit. Jesus, dude, make that guy's life a living hell.
Bucs Rams, right? We've had some good games with that franchise over the years. And
2019 dropped 55 on the Punks, and then Brady with the interception on the last drive last year. That was the only game I went to in person, by the way. I mean, it was it was a good game down to the stretch.
That's better than the game I went to in person last year. It's okay.
So
I went to three. Oh yeah, I went to 3 games last year, and we got our dicks kicked in all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I had a free ticket to the Super Bowl, and I didn't go. Well, one of the reasons I didn't go was because I'm like, no, I'm not gonna jinx this team again. So I'm gonna stay home and watch it.
Bro, we talked about it before, but before the season started, there's a guy on Twitter whose name I can't remember right now. Dude, he's like 0-9 going to games.
Corey?
He says he's going to the...
No, that used to be Corey.
It used to be Corey, but I don't remember who this guy is, but he said he's going to the Jets game this year, and that's the only game he's going to. I mean, could you fucking imagine being 0-9 for your favorite sports team?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
I feel
God.
other than the Dallas game reminded me this year. The Dallas game reminded me a lot of the Giants game from the Matt Gay game.
Yeah,
I thought for sure Ryan Suckup was missing. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, which is why we curse him on a consistent basis because I'll never love a kicker again.
Oh man,
people are like, why do you hate Ryan? I hate Bucks kickers.
Listen, bro,
Bucks punters, no kickers, yeah.
We are big Ryan Suckup fans over here. Suckup doesn't
Not
suck.
me.
That's our boy. He is ice cold. But listen,
Not
you
as
talk
much
about
hate. Hey, let's give another round of applause to Bradley Pinion.
Holy shit, man. People's champion, second week in a row. Bradley
Yeah.
Pinion, the All-Pro Tour 2021. He shows up on Pat McAfee's show with Ryan Suckup, talks about how he has aspirations to be an All-Pro this season, and just an absolute clinic today. He had that beautiful punt that was pinned inside the 5-yard line. Holy hell. One more hand for Bradley Pinion, the people's champ, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not his fault. I wasn't a big fan of the squibs.
Both teams were kind of doing that. I didn't understand that.
Well, they put AB out there for one, and I mean, I
Dude,
kind of
I
understand.
heard Jalen got hurt.
Yeah. Mickens is hurt.
Or not, Jaden, not Jalen. Jaden,
yeah. Same difference. Hopefully, maybe now with Mickens, his status kind of up in the air, we could see a little bit of Jalen Darden. I remember that first depth chart of the season came out, and everybody was kind of overreacting because Darden was on there as the primary returner for the Bucs. And then, Thursday Night Football comes around, and Jadon Mickens is your guy. And I think Mickens had a great game against Dallas, and as far as I'm concerned, he won the job for the time being.
He did.
But, I'd love to see the rookie because there was so much hype about this kid, especially right after we drafted him and the possibilities with him being a returner. I hope we get to see a little bit of Jalen Darden here soon.
Yeah, I think we'd all be
sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think we'd all be excited if he could actually catch. And in the preseason, he could not hang on to the ball, which is why I think, we'll see. We'll see. He's going to get his opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
Eventually, I think. Yeah, I don't think they're really set on a guy, so I do agree that they'll definitely try. I mean, they traded up in the 4th round to get this guy. They clearly saw something that they liked.
No, he's got freaky joystick ability.
Yeah,
the kid is a
player. He just got things put together.
He's got to get his hands right, and you're joining the Super Bowl champs. I'm sure nerves played a factor. He's got the ability. I mean, they tried to put him out there with the ones several times. So clearly they saw a lot. They liked a lot of what they saw in preseason, but it just seemed like his hands weren't completely there yet. And so maybe he'll work through it.
And I think the thing with guys like Darden too, and his situation, when you only have a limited amount of time to prove your worth on this team, we've talked about it with guys like Keyshawn Vaughn. Like the Bucs of now are not the same Bucs 2-3 years ago, where you could spend as much time trying to see how much these guys can develop, right? Like
Keyshawn Vaughn and Jalen Darden would be playing right now if this was like 2018.
Right. We just don't have. When you're trying to, I guess, Bucs are 2-0 right now, and obviously the goal is perfection. So let's just, for the sake of conversation, say when you're chasing perfection, you don't have a lot of time to kind of sit around with your thumb up your ass and figure out what these guys can and cannot do. But for Jalen Darden's sake, and for a lot of people who are excited to see him, I hope that, Jadon Mickens, while I hope he rests up and heals up and is good to go and all that stuff, I just hope it opens a door a little bit for Darden and we can see what he is capable of. Checking in on the live chat really quick before we get to the take bag. Tony Saylor says Darden looks a little slow on film. And I've heard that. A lot of people look back at what he looked like in the preseason and he looks a little slow. I don't know if maybe that's, incorrect or
he's not slow. But he's a short area quickness guy. He's not he's not Scotty. He's not going to beat you. He's not going to beat you over the top like Scotty can. But in space, he's the problem. I saw it at practice. I saw it in the preseason live. I think maybe it's deceiving seeing him. Plus, nothing looked good in the preseason. There was a lot of dysfunction, and I think he was part of that in some ways. But the kid's quickness is legit.
Hell yeah! All right. So every single week here on the show, we wrap things up with the newest segment on the podcast. It is Evan's Take Bag. The Philly Bucks fan, floor is yours, my friend. Do you have the physical bag on hand? Hell yeah, he does. We're all about props here. And I mean, if I can say one thing about Atlanta today, they were able to keep it a close game down the stretch, but at the end of the day, we all know what the fuck they are, dude. I mean, come on. The Falcons, get out of here.
That's right.
Evan, the take bag, my friend.
Okay, so I was glad to see OJ Howard actually get a catch, a significant one too, not just one of those like 2-yard catch, whatever. Like it was a first down. It was like a 20-yard gain or whatever. It's good to see him get in there. And like we talked about earlier, if Gronkowski's at this pace, it's going to be tough for those guys to see reps. Like we get it, but it was nice to see them to see him get in there. Selfishly, I do have to be a little bit of a bummed out. I picked the wrong safety to get the interception. I said Antoine Winfield was going to get an interception. Mike Edwards decided, hey, I'm not going to get one, but two, and I'm not going to just return it to the 10-yard line. I'm going to take both of them to the house. Which also that second one was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen in like a Bucks game.
We've seen so many plays like that against the Bucks, right? Just some bullshit where like the ball pops up 20 feet in the air and the defense has all day to get it.
Yeah.
Felt like half of Jameis Winston's interceptions were like that, where it's like that's like such a unusual circumstance, and it's just like, come on,
the Bucks,
right?
Listen, you brought up that guy, the guy you just named. How did he do today?
Not too good. And I did see you on Twitter, Stank. You were taking a video of some, I guess old habits die hard for good old.
Yeah, I mean, I can't let the Saints fans off lightly. They were particularly.
Oh my God!
They were quiet as hell today.
Yeah, they were particularly mean to me this week, which I probably deserve because I asked for it. But they thought. I mean, they got what we got, right? 1 week he's a fucking franchise quarterback. And he's the next, he's gonna have a Hall of Fame career. And the next
he's the
week,
fucking MVP if you ask most people after week 1.
Yeah, but then the next week, you don't want him on your team anymore. I mean, it's as hot and cold as you can get with the player. So, whatever. I couldn't happen to a better fan base, honestly.
Yeah, that's one thing I think every Bucs fan can agree on is the Saints just absolutely suck. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Don't really have a whole lot. I texted Rhett. I was a little bit nervous after Suckup missed the extra point because it was still a 2-possession game then. It was a 16-point game and not a 17-point game. I was like, oh, that might matter. It didn't. Whatever. Bucs win. Moving on to LA. Just like Stank, I have concerns about them playing in LA. Their first road game of the season. Not an easy road game. Definitely not an easy road game traveling across the country. And then you got the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football the next week. Tough little stretch here, but if anybody's ready for it, I think Tom Brady is. So Tom Brady for MVP. He'll probably get off. He might get the FedEx Player of the. Maybe I don't know
I don't know. I guess he didn't have enough passing yards through the air.
Well, that's what the other guy who used to play quarterback for this city and that is in Florida. He threw 5 touchdowns and didn't get it. So I guess.
Yeah, but he's also not Tom Brady. He's also not Tom Brady.
Yeah, he's also not Tom Brady.
And then I think Pinion should just be. By default, just get the special teams player of the week just because he's Bradley Pinion. So, we got to give Mike Edwards defensive player of the week, right? I mean, I don't know anybody else that had 2 pick sixes.
And I don't think anybody's going to take that award away from him this week.
He joins Rondé Barber as the only other player in franchise history to have 2 scoring interceptions in a game. So good for Mike Edwards. One more thing I'll add to the take bag.
And Dexter Jackson in the Super Bowl. Didn't he have 2 pick sixes in that game? Or am I wrong?
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, he did. It might have been regular regular season stat.
Huh.
Damn, somebody in the chat room correct me.
It wasn't 2 pick sixes.
It wasn't Dwight Smith, was it?
No, Dwight Smith had a pick 6, but it wasn't 2.
I thought he had 2 picks.
He had 2
I think Dexter Jackson had 2.
All right.
Yeah, I'm old. My dementia kicks in sometimes. So.
Dexter Jackson got the MVP. We know that. He had 2 interceptions. I think Dwight Smith had the pick 6. Derek Brooks and Dwight Smith had the pick 6.
Yeah. All right. No, it was Dwight Smith. Look at that. I'm
Yeah.
fucking right again. Okay,
You're right.
That's how we roll here.
You're right, and as usual, I'm wrong, but that's okay.
Well, it's a rarity for Rhett to be right. So that's
listen, Stank, we're glad to have you here, my friend. One more thing that I'm going to add to the take bag. Jordan Whitehead was back out in that secondary today, and I think you noticed, right? I think Jordan Whitehead was missed, and we saw him support a little bit in that secondary, made some plays here and there, but it was good seeing him back, and he looked a little more prepared than I thought he would. So it was nice seeing 31 out there just leveling people again.
33.
Dwight Smith had 2 pick sixes. Thank you, All-Star fan.
You got the wrong number, so you're wrong again.
What?
31's the answer.
Oh, shit. No, you're right.
Man.
He was 31, right? He changed his number?
It was part of those. It was last offseason when the secondary decided to play, musical chairs with numbers. So,
At least they didn't go with all single fucking digits.
Right, right. You don't want to be those guys.
Leonard Fournette is still messing with me. I'm like,
I don't like it. I'm old like Tom. Me and Tom are a year apart. I hate it. I hate it.
Now, are you a year older or younger than Tom?
I'm a year older than Tom. I'm Get Live 4-5.
Listen, I'll tell you, man. One thing that we can say about Stank is that the sacrifice that you made for this city and this football team last season truly cannot be appreciated enough. For the people who don't know, I mean, if you want to fill them in on your compromise.
Yeah. I gave up sex for a year, and if you don't believe me, on the last episode, not the one we filmed 2 episodes ago on Loose Cannons, my wife sat in for me because I got fired for half a show, and she sat in and she confirmed it. So yeah.
Kudos to you.
I gave up sex if Tom Brady came, and he did, and then I doubled down with Gronk, and but we won the Super Bowl, so yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
I had sex after that.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Literally at the Super Bowl party, I had sex, but it's kind of weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys so much for anyone on our YouTube live chat hanging out with us. Mr. Bucks Nation, thanks for your super chats. Donating to the Wendy's Fund, my friend. Truly glad to have you here. All the moderators holding it down. Our guy Willie Beeman, Allstott fan hanging out with us. TB12 Goatman, G Vegas once again, Tony Saylor, and anybody else that I may have missed. Thank you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Plenty of great Buccaneers content. And follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucks news as it happens, you can check out my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucks_daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram, rapidly approaching 30,000 followers. And you can also find him on Twitter, where he will not follow you back, at EvanNFL. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, where I will follow you back at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS, and my burner account, Darnold1of1. So make sure you check that out.
Oh, shit.
Stank, thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man.
I mean, you said you're going to LA this week, but aside from that, what have you got going on in the works, and where can people find your stuff?
You can find me I'm basically Twitter, only at Stank Bastard. Maybe I'll follow you back. Maybe I won't. You post political shit.
The best profile picture you'll ever find.
Real picture. It's a really a picture of me. That was I was a little chunky mullety kid. I missed the hair, and I found that picture going through some of my mom's photos a few years back, and it's man, it's been had the best luck ever since. So
I think if the creamsicle uniforms looked like a person,
it would be that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like people.
I actually found the shirt, by the way.
The picture. Did you?
I have the shirt. I have it over.
Is it the Testaverde one?
It's the Testaverde one. If Sammer and Christian or Latte ever finish editing the golf video that we did at the Arians Family Foundation golf tournament this year, I got to meet Testaverde, show him the picture. It was honestly one of the better days of my life. Crazy. It should be out here. I think we're going to drop it on the bye week. But yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. Hey, listen, I mean, not to undercut or anything, but if you guys are ever looking for a video guy, or I may or may not know a guy.
I think Latte's already hit you up. So
dude, I don't. He hit me up and then nothing ever happened. I mean, listen, I don't mean to throw him under the bus. It's the very end of the podcast. I don't even know if people are still
throw him
listening.
under the bus.
He texted me. He's like, "Hey, brother, let's make something happen. How much you charge for this?
Yeah,
we're planning on shooting this and editing into this. Do you think you'd be able to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's make it happen." And then fucking crickets.
It's probably Sammer's fault. Somebody in the chat earlier, and I saw it and it scrolled by, and James laughed at it, but somebody said that Sammer looks like a man baby with a beard. I love that. Honestly, he has no pores, just like a baby. He does look like a giant fucking baby. And I posted a video of his kid, who's like a miniature version of him.
With the beard too.
Yeah, exactly. And Ed just as abusive, and his son's like 10 years old or 8 years old. Weird.
Don't matter.
Holy shit. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. Make sure you check out the Loose Cannons and the Buck and Idiots podcast, which I hope makes a
which I haven't recorded in forever, but make sure you follow the Buck and Idiots on Twitter too. It has like fucking 2,000, almost 2,000 followers, and it's whenever I feel like it. Honestly, my producer, she's in jail, so when she gets out, maybe Betty, I'll drop another episode. Yeah, intern Betty.
Jesus Christ, dude.
She's been locked up, dude.
Oh man.
Yep.
Folks, thank you so much for checking out the show this week. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off for my co-host, Evan Wanish, and our very special guest, the one and only Stank Bastard. And one more reminder before we go. I think we are, like 7 or 8 weeks away from the first ever Cannon Fire watch party. That's going to be happening November 14th on a Sunday. The Buccaneers play 1 o'clock against the Washington football team. We're teaming up with Berry House Brewery and Wingbox Food Truck right outside of Ybor City. It's going to be an awesome event. And we'd love to have you guys there. Myself, Evan, Mr. Bucks Nation, and maybe a couple of other people will be hanging out. No charge. Just show up, watch some football, and let's record a podcast and try not to get too drunk and overdo it, right? But that's the show. Thank you guys for checking out the Cannon Fire podcast, brought to you by our good friends over at betonline.ag. We will talk to you a little bit later this week with the mailbag show. Until then, and as always, we'll talk to you next time, and go Bucks.
Bucks.